Before we start, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more stories like this. It really helps and keeps these videos coming. My name is Emily Carter, and for most of my life, I truly believed I had everything figured out. Not in a perfect, flawless way, but in that quiet, comforting way where life feels predictable enough that you stop questioning it. I grew up in a small town in Ohio, where the streets were always familiar, the faces were always the same, and privacy was almost a myth. In a place like that, nothing really stays hidden for long. If you did something on Monday, by Tuesday half the town already had a version of the story. And by Wednesday, it was something completely different. Everyone knew everyone. Everyone knew your parents, your siblings, your habits, even your mistakes. It was the kind of place where life felt safe, but also like it never truly belonged to you alone. I was the middle child in a family of 3. My older brother was David, and my younger sister was Claire. David was always the one people remembered first. He was 2 years older than me, tall, confident, and effortlessly charming in a way that made adults trust him and teachers forgive him. He had this protective nature too, sometimes comforting, sometimes overwhelming. He could walk into a room and instantly take control of it without even trying. As a kid, I used to think of him as my shield. If anything went wrong, David would fix it. If anyone bothered me, David would step in. If I was scared, David would make it disappear. Claire, on the other hand, was the opposite energy. Soft-spoken, observant, always watching more than speaking. She had a calmness that balanced the chaos in our home. And then there was me, somewhere in between. Not the loudest, not the quietest. Just existing in the middle of everything, trying to find my place. My childhood wasn't bad. In fact, if you looked at it from the outside, it probably looked normal. Family dinners, school events, holidays, arguments that ended in silence but eventually healed themselves. But looking back, I realized something I didn't understand back then. Even normal lives can change without warning. When I met Michael, I thought I had finally stepped into the part of life where things made sense. He wasn't dramatic. He wasn't unpredictable. He wasn't the kind of man who filled a room with noise or attention. He was steady. And sometimes, steady is exactly what you don't realize you need until you find it. We met in college. It wasn't some movie-style moment or sudden spark in the rain. It was simpler than that. We shared classes, passed each other in hallways, studied in the same library rows. Slowly, conversations turned into familiarity, and familiarity turned into something deeper. Michael listened in a way most people don't. He remembered small things I said in passing. He never interrupted when I spoke. He made me feel like my thoughts actually mattered. We fell in love quietly, without announcements or dramatic declarations. And maybe that's why it lasted so strongly. It wasn't rushed, it wasn't forced. It just grew. We got married a year after graduation. People said it was fast. Some said it wouldn't last. But none of that mattered to me. Because when I looked at Michael, I didn't see uncertainty. I saw a future that finally felt stable. He wasn't just my husband. He was my best friend. My safe place. The person I could sit beside in silence and still feel understood. We built a life that didn't look flashy from the outside, but felt rich in all the ways that mattered. Small routines. Shared meals. Inside jokes. Quiet nights on the couch. Plans for a future we both believed we would reach together. We talked about everything, travel, a house someday, maybe children in the future, the kind of life we wanted to build slowly and carefully. It wasn't perfect, but it was ours. And I thought it would stay that way. The night everything changed didn't start like a tragedy. It started like any other night. Rain tapping against the windows. The soft glow of streetlights reflecting on wet pavement. The kind of peaceful silence that makes you feel like nothing in the world can go wrong. But life doesn't announce its turning points. It just delivers them. My phone rang at 2 a.m. Even before I answered it, something in my chest tightened. No one calls at that hour unless something is wrong. Deeply wrong. It was a voice I didn't fully process at first. Urgent, distant, careful with words that were clearly already heavy. There had been an accident. Michael. A car crash on his way home from a late shift. I don't remember much after that moment. Not clearly. It's strange how the brain protects itself. Some details stay sharp forever, while others dissolve completely. I remember grabbing my keys. I remember driving too fast. I remember the hospital lights, too bright, too white, too cold for something so devastating. And I remember the sentence that broke everything I thought I knew about life. He didn't make it. Just like that. No warning. No time to prepare. No chance to say goodbye properly. The person I had built my life around was gone. The days after that were not days I truly lived. They were days I moved through, like I was watching someone else exist in my place. People came. People left. They brought food I didn't eat. They said words I didn't hear properly. Everything felt distant, like I was underwater, and the world was happening somewhere far above me. The house became unbearable. Every object had memory attached to it. His jacket still hung near the door. His toothbrush sat untouched in the bathroom. His coffee mug was still in the kitchen cabinet, the one he always reached for without thinking. Grief doesn't just hurt emotionally. It rearranges reality. It makes familiar spaces feel foreign. It turns silence into something loud and suffocating. I started walking through rooms like a stranger. Like I didn't belong there anymore. Because in a way, I didn't. Not without him. My family tried to help in their own ways. Claire came often. She cleaned, she cooked. She stayed even when I barely spoke. She would sit beside me and talk softly, trying to pull me back into conversations I wasn't ready to have. My parents called every day. Sometimes I answered. Sometimes I didn't. And David changed in a way I didn't fully understand at first. He started showing up more frequently, fixing things around the house that weren't broken, bringing groceries I didn't ask for, staying longer than necessary. At first, I told myself it was just him being protective. That was always his role in my life. The brother who stepped in when things got hard. And I needed someone. So I let him stay. I let him help. I let him fill space that felt too empty. But slowly, something about it started to feel off. Not immediately. Not in a way I could clearly explain. Just a feeling. A shift in tone. A heaviness behind his presence that I couldn't name yet. Still, I ignored it. Because grief makes you accept comfort in whatever form it comes. Even when you shouldn't. It was about 3 months after Michael's death when everything reached the point of no return. I was beginning to function again. Not healing, not okay, but functioning. Breathing felt slightly less painful. Mornings were still hard, but I could at least get out of bed without feeling completely crushed. David came over that evening. He brought wine. He said I shouldn't be alone. So we sat in the living room. The television played something meaningless in the background. The house was dim, quiet in a way that felt almost normal compared to the chaos inside my mind. We talked. At first, it was simple. Childhood memories. Funny stories from years ago. Michael. Life before everything broke. For a moment, it almost felt like I was part of the world again. Then the atmosphere shifted. I noticed it before I understood it. David stopped talking mid-sentence. He set his glass down and looked at me differently. Not like a brother. Not like someone offering comfort. But like someone standing at the edge of something they had already decided to cross. "Emily," he said quietly. And something in his voice immediately made my stomach tighten. "I need to tell you something." I didn't answer right away. There was a pause that felt too long. Too heavy. "I've been thinking," he continued. "About everything. About life. About how short it is." He stopped again. And when he spoke again, his voice changed completely. "I don't want to waste time anymore." That's when I felt it. Something was wrong. Very wrong. "I've always cared about you," he said slowly. "More than a brother should." The room went still. Even the air felt like it had stopped moving. My mind tried to reject what I was hearing before I even understood it. "What are you saying?" I asked, but my voice didn't sound like mine. And then he said it. "I love you, Emily." The words didn't belong in that room. They didn't belong between us. They didn't belong in any reality I understood. And yet they were there. He continued anyway, as if he had already passed a point of no return. "I've loved you for years," he said. "And now that Michael is gone, maybe this is our chance." My hands started shaking. Not from sadness. From disbelief. From shock. from something that felt like betrayal in its purest form. No, I said firmly, standing up now. That's not love. That's not right. You're my brother. But he didn't stop. He stepped closer, trying to justify it, trying to reshape reality into something acceptable, talking about connection, about fate, about taking care of me, about replacing what I lost. And something inside me snapped, not loudly, but decisively. I don't want this, I said. I need my brother, not this. Silence followed, heavy, unmovable. Then he stood up. His expression changed completely. Without another word, he grabbed his coat and walked out. And just like that, the room became empty again. But this time it felt worse. Because I realized something I hadn't fully accepted before. Even the people you trust most can become strangers in a single moment. And that night, for the first time since Michael died, I cried not just from grief, but from fear of what my life had become. And deep down I knew, this was only the beginning.